Hey, listeners, and a special hey, hola, bonjour, hi, and hello to all those of you who support us on Patreon. Now, as y'all know, we got quite a few patrons who have joined the party, so we're going to just slowly get through batches of names every single week. This week, we want to shout out, Lord, I need some glasses. I hope this is right. Is that Tornia?
Okay, let me just read it.
Right, exactly. Tornia, Crystal, Tiffany, Anita, Stephanie Jones, Jazzy, and Orlandis, Sydney, and Debbie Aban Mensa. Yes, yes, yes. These people you might have joined 2 or 3 weeks ago, but we are determined to name every single person on this Patreon. Remember, you can give to the Patreon for $1, $2, $5, and even 78 cents a month. If you're looking for that information, I have it on my TikTok bio, my Instagram bio, but you can also find it here in the episode notes. I only wish Ben supported this family the way that you patrons do. Now, Ben, say what you got to say.
Oh, no, that's it. Oh, I've been working on some new music that...
Wait, we ain't there yet. Anything about the Patreon? Anything about the Patreon?
Yeah, about the Patreon.
Oh,
I've been
okay,
working
sorry.
on some new music, and I'm going to post it exclusively to the Patreon.
Oh, boy.
It's beautiful, lyrical music. I'm writing a full studio album. The title of it is going to be For Wild. It's going to hit some #1 charts. It's going to have
You're really instilling confidence. You going to make people leave the Patreon. I'm just kidding. Here's the thing. You know what? Okay, wait. Join the Patreon. Every month we give away a book. This month we're giving away Danny Lord's and other authors. We'll shout them out soon. But Queen of Bad Dreams by 1/5 part Danny Lore. We'll be giving that book away. We're also going to be discussing that book today on the podcast. Now let's get started with the show. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Side under the Believe Podcast Network. It's a podcast about Black science fiction and fantasy and staying on the same page of our marriage. Today's episode 86, and we will be discussing the comic book, as I just said at the top of the show, Queen of Bad Dreams. The book is written by Danny Lore, who is a Black author, but the artist is Jordi Perez, colorist is Dearbhla Kelly, and the letterer is Kim McLean. But we just want to acknowledge everybody else and all of the great creators that went into this insanely, one of my favorite comic books that I have ever read on this show. But it was written by a Black woman, Danny Lore.
They go by gender neutral pronouns.
Correct me. It is written by a Black person, they, them, and there will be spoilers for the story that we're going to discuss today. Now, let's get back to Ben and his music, okay?
Well, I just want to point out, we can get to the music, but a colorist is not someone who treats someone different based on the color of their skin.
I think, yeah, we'll give the context, but I'm grateful that you said that. Ben, here's the thing. Can I talk about your music for a second?
Dearbhla Kelly is not a colorist or doesn't believe in colorism.
Who we don't know that.
We
don't know that for
sure.
sure.
I checked their Twitter. They seemed pretty not
You can't
that.
tell by someone's Twitter if they're racist or colorist.
Yes, you can. Because you have to put the little Black Lives Matter in the bio.
And if it's not there,
if you're not there, then you're...
It's tons of people that
I don't have
a Black
mine
Lives
there.
Matter shirt that say problematic shit.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your music.
It's fucking dope.
Here's the thing about it.
I'm working on a rap song. It's going to be like
No.
It's like Flight of the Conchords, but with my own little style,
Let's not.
Have you watched Flight of the Conchords?
I have not.
Yeah.
That's why I'm just going to err on the side of not, right? Here's the thing about your music, and I love you dearly. I love you down. You could get away with just about anything under my watch at this stage in our relationship after getting me through the laboring of our child. But let me say this. You are a wordsmith. Mm-hmm. You write beautiful music.
Yep.
Your vocals are interesting, I'll say.
That's okay.
So I try to come in and help you vocally because you have a lot of gifts. Your writing is spot on. I love how you play the guitar, but singing isn't your ministry.
That's okay. When musicians
go
to, and they
resign to that fact?
They accept their Grammys and for all the haters who didn't believe me out there. Like when I say that, you can guess one of the haters now, everybody. When I win my first Grammy, my first Emmy, maybe my first Academy Award for like best music soundtrack or something, and I say, for all the haters who didn't believe in me, and then I would look at you because we'd still be together, God willing.
Let me ask you a very serious question. Do you think you sing well?
I think that I sing in a way that would connect with people. Do I sing like I'm from a black gospel choir? No.
Well,
if that's your definition of well.
It is.
Do I sing like a Broadway musical star? No. But do I have a voice that some people would find attractive? Yes.
Well, who are those people?
Our you can sign up on the Patreon and you can be one of those people.
But here's the thing. Most times, because I'm not an incredible singer, but, I can carry a tune in a bucket, but I can't play well. Sometimes I struggle to stay on the same key. Like, I know that about myself. But for some reason, you're not willing to maybe possibly admit that you're like, singing's not my thing, but I'm a hell of a guitarist.
I lean into myself. I accept my voice for what it is. How does one lean into
yourself? Go ahead, do a trust fall right now where I can see you catch yourself.
Yeah. Spiritually speaking, metaphysically speaking.
But I love that about you. I love when you sing loudly off key. It's quite enduring. So when you do your song, we'll let the patrons decide. Well, let me ask you this, patrons, and everybody out there who is still listening to us ramble. Do you think we should tell our family members when they shine in some talents and don't in other areas? Maybe that's me. And I need to learn this now because in case, like I said, Wild can't sing well, I need to know, like, should I be like, you should really play guitar like your dad? Or should I say, like,
you should really sing like your father because he has a unique voice?
It's unique.
It's unique.
It doesn't matter.
Bob Dylan
I'll let you sing
had a terrible voice, and he still brought music.
No,
listen, I say
plenty of people that are famous that can't sing well.
Yeah, the latch. Get a good latch. Oh yeah, like I did a TikTok video on that, and people thought my voice was good. There were comments. There are people that connected with.
Okay, we'll repost that video. I promise you the vocals weren't what they thought was good. They thought your writing was funny, which it was.
Right. But some people made comments on my vocals. Listen, you personally do not have to like you can personally be a hater. It. There are lots of haters out there.
I'm not here to yuck your yum. I'm really not.
I'm not looking for you to yuck anything. Like, it's not my yum. It's not like I relish in my singing. It's just the voice that I have, and I use it.
I love it, too.
Do you love it or hate it? Make a decision. Indecisive.
I can appreciate it. Just like
usually I'm the indecisive one. What's going on with you today?
I can appreciate your voice just like people, for whatever reason, somewhat still appreciate our podcast. Remember, folks out there, if you're like, y'all, I ain't giving y'all no money, not one red cent, that is okay. You know how you can still support us? On Apple Podcast. Here's one Apple Podcast rating. This is one. This one's from Candid Can Baby Bay. All right. Right on time. Hey, y'all. I am so happy I found more content of you guys after watching for months on TikTok. I absolutely love your podcast. Being a black girl that's a cool nerd, it's always been hard. Not too many people
you can talk to.
Not too many people you can talk to because they begin to look at you like, huh? Not having too many interests with others around me, but you guys bring just what I need. And I especially enjoy your baby content because me and my boyfriend are expecting and we'll be those nerdy parents. LOL. Oh, congratulations. I listen every day and you are the first people I ever supported on Patreon. Thank you for being you. And Ben, I totally agreed on the it-themed nursery. Super cool. And y'all got me thinking about my own kid over here. LOL, blessings.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah. If you're not familiar, Ben wanted to do a Stephen King
nursery.
It-themed nursery, blood and all, Pennywise and scalpels and all kinds of.
Like The Omen, maybe we put some Omen references. Not Stephen King, but just a horror theme. But I would love it themed. Like, demon clowns, a dog ripping a, Cujo ripping. Maybe like you would have Gucci as Cujo ripping our bodies apart, consuming us. I think that would be cool. Like if I died before Gucci, like feed me to Gucci. Like just as a way of just showing like the ultimate appreciation.
Eating of the ashes, eating of the body.
I think it is
important. The gag is that I kind of could have let you follow through with that because Wild hasn't spent one night in that nursery.
She has not yet.
that bedside bassinet in our room has been serving her well. But
speaking of Wild,
I'm glad somebody can appreciate that you want to do that.
To our segment, the patrons got a point. You asked the question, which I didn't approve. I thought I was the one running the Patreon. You asked, who does Wild look like? And then I just want to first address that question. I think when people ask the question like, oh, does Wild look like this person? Wild looks like her own damn self. This whole idea of like, who does this child look like? I think it sort of removes the individuality from the child.
I think it's fine to say like, oh, you like your mom or your dad. Sure. Or a healthy blend of both.
The only problem is that when you are an adopted person, right, and if that becomes like the signifier of your parentage or your relationship with your family, it sort of removes that identity in that relationship. So I don't know. I hate the obsession that a lot of people have with babies and whether they look like which parent they are.
I don't think it's an obsession. It's just a fun poll.
I think it's a little bit.
Damn.
I think societally.
I bet you're fun at parties.
I'm not.
I know you're not.
I'm not.
I've been there.
I will literally shake your hand and be like, okay, tell me about what you think about the Israel-Palestinian conflict.
Yeah, Ben's that person at the party, whereas I'm over there twerking.
Like, let's talk about, the collapse of Netanyahu and the new fascist prime minister that was just, elected. Anyway,
Ben will fully be at a party defending terrorism. We're just like, listen, it's a wedding.
I don't defend terrorism. I contextualize it in a way.
It's a rehearsal dinner.
And I say, listen, we call when the U.S. kills innocent civilians, we call it collateral damage. When quote unquote terrorist organizations kill innocent civilians, we call it a terrorist act. Why is that? I'm just asking questions here, people. And I'm just asking questions.
Damn, that guy needs his
and everybody who just wants to get like drunk and have their dick sucks or their
so you over here being like, I think it's disgusting when people are obsessed with how their baby looks. It's like, well, I think it's gross when people are like, oh, I hope she has Ben's eyes because they're a colored eye, and then she'll look more.
Well, isn't that an extension of that question though?
No.
All right, sound off patrons. Do you think that the question, who does Wild look like, or the do we as an American or any society, I think in America particularly, do we obsess a little bit over what a child looks like?
I feel like every week there's going to be a permutation of this question. It's just like that's slightly different from the original question.
Who does Wiggles look like? Most people said they can't decide, so that was 182 people, and then 165 people said dad's twin.
She does look like you as a baby.
And then mom's twin, 105. Oh yeah, the shared baby pictures. Yeah. I keep on smacking that like sound was me hitting. I'm uncoordinated, even though I do play a lot of basketball. Just haven't been doing it lately.
You're on the court, yeah.
I've been here with you and the baby.
We've been super tight. I mean, even right now, we're running on fumes. Ben had to drag me out of bed. Why? Because, Bling Empire Season 2 dropped. And then what else dropped? Oh, I was behind on selling Sunset Reunion.
All right. So first of all, don't even talk to me
all day
about behind on. I'm behind on so many TV shows. Picard Season 2, Star Trek Discovery Season 4. Just disgustingly, I still haven't watched Severance, the Apple TV Plus show. I still haven't watched Foundation. I'm 7 episodes in that. So don't talk to me.
I'm just saying, in general, we're tired because we've been up at night.
Yeah, that's true.
And then, like I said, I'm a walking milkshake for Wiggles.
Sure.
So we are running on fumes today. I'll be surprised if we go to a full hour.
Song starts to hit a little bit differently.
Bitch, I'm a cow. Right. Very that. All right, Ben, you want to take a quick break?
Yeah.
Before we continue with the show, I wanted to talk a little bit about Noom. Noom uses the latest in behavioral science to empower people to take control of their health for good through a combination of psychology, technology, and human coaching on their platform to help millions of users meet their personal health and wellness goals. A lot of people face pressures to change themselves to fit other people's expectations, and the more freeing solution is to find things that work for you. Noom understands that everyone's weight loss journey is unique, and what works for someone else doesn't mean it'll work for you. That's why Noom's approach adapts to your lifestyle. It's flexible and it focuses on progress, not perfection, allowing you to work toward your goals at a pace that's comfortable for you. Noom Weight makes it easy to start your weight loss journey and stay on track with personalized lessons that help you gain confidence and practical knowledge, one-on-one coaching, and a cognitive behavioral approach that teaches you how to be mindful of your habits. 75% of Noom Weight users finish the program, and more than 60% of users that engage with the program kept the weight off for a year or more. So start building better habits for healthier long-term results. Sign up for your trial at Noom.com/believe. Again, that's Noom, Noom.com/believe. We're back. Ben has coffee. Before, okay, we're waiting on your sneeze. All right.
Like, I'm very dramatic when I sneeze too. Like this, like you'll get snot into the next room.
Okay. Well, as
Sorry.
you do that, I want to say to Ben and to everybody watching this and listening to this, maybe I was just a little grumpy at the top of the show, but I'm so sorry about giving you shit about your horrible vocals.
You say
They're
grumpy
not
as
horrible.
if it's like a temporary state for you.
Oh,
It's been a pretty constant state for
It's
you
not
for a
temporary.
while.
If I was one of the seven dwarves in Snow White,
you'd be
I'd be
grumpy.
grumpy, and you'd be dopey.
Grumpy and groggy, isn't that one of the
Groggy is
one of
groggy is not a seven dwarf.
you
Wait,
should be.
let's see if we can name all seven.
I'm not doing that. I have a very
dopey, bashful, Doc. Fuck. Okay, hold on.
Dasher,
Sleepy?
Prancer.
No. It's got to be one name. Sleepy, bashful, Doc, dopey, grumpy.
You can tell which one of us grew up with television. You know, I wasn't
Lazy,
allowed to watch Snow White growing up because there was a witch in it. There was a witch in it, and the witch was evil. Like when that witch with the nose, when she became scared. I remember looking at that, watching that with my at my cousin's house.
Let me see. Seven dwarves, which
We
is
were
probably.
we were saying that you were grumpy and groggy.
It's not. Okay. Oh, okay. Grumpy, dopey, Doc. I said though. Happy. Damn. Happy, bashful, sneezy, and sleepy.
I could be sneezy, right?
You are definitely sneezy. I was starting by saying, so one, bless you. It's still happening. If you're watching YouTube, Ben's sneeze is still trying to come out.
Go for it.
I just wanted to say that, like, who the fuck am I? Mariah Carey, Beyonce? I'm no one to judge anybody's vocals. I love your voice. I fell in love with you many years ago. And every day I choose to love you more and more. So I'm sorry.
All right. Cool. Apology accepted. Cool. Great. And now we can move on.
What did we read?
So we read Queen of Bad Dreams, which is amazing. We enjoyed it.
So good, y'all. So good.
And the writer is Danny Lore. So like some context for this. So we are reading Queen of Bad Dreams, written by Danny Lore. Next week, we're reading a collection of science fiction poetry, Electric Arches, written by Evel Ewing. And both of those writers were co-writers with Janelle Monáe on The Memory Librarian, which we're reading in 2 weeks. And so I sort of wanted to give us some context of where these authors are coming from when they helped Janelle Monáe write this collection of short stories. But if you've read the Sandman series by Neil Gaiman and, you know, Nalo Hopkinson, who we interviewed in episode 47, she sort of did an extension of the Sandman series and also the Books of Magic, which basically takes this idea that
Nalo
dreams...
or Danny?
Nalo Hopkinson.
Did the extension. Okay.
Yeah, for the Sandman series. But all that had a huge influence on Queen of Bad Dreams. Danny Lore themselves said that they loved the books of magic growing up. I listened to an interview by them and read up a couple of other interviews and such. So basically the concept is that dreams can become real. And for example, they're called figments. And so in this world, a figment of your imagination or from your dream can become embodied and can move around. And because of some major big incident, all these figments started coming around and wreaking havoc. And now justices, sort of police, go around, think of like ICE maybe, go around and collect these figments and bring them back into like the dream world. Occasionally, if the figments, though, are proven or shown to be, upstanding citizens or have consciousness, essentially, they are allowed to stay in the real world.
And I guess be citizens.
Which this whole thing, I could not help but reading this as a metaphor for immigration. And did you not get that? Or
I read it less as a metaphor for immigration, and I read it more as that whole like Turing test. What is AI? What's the difference between like advanced or artificial intelligence and a human? So
like, what is intelligence? What is consciousness? What is
correct?
What is life, essentially?
I read it more as that, because so you have a dream, and in this dream, you dream about a random person, and then that random person is possibly like jumps out of your dream and is a figment walking and moving through the planet as a human. So I read that as like, what's the difference between something created and a human being if they're interacting the same? I read it more as that. So we just had two different takes. I don't think one's more wrong than the other. And I'm not sure how far we're gonna get into spoilers.
We can spoil anything, yeah.
Okay.
But I think whether the concept, the artwork is still beautiful, like us spoiling the story is not spoiling the artwork.
Absolutely,
there's still
not.
quite a bit involved into the whole story.
So, if I can talk about one thing that further confirmed the artificial intelligence theme for me was that, so the main character's name is, help me out with this. Dare. Daher. I would have, my southern me would have said Daher.
You can say Daher. I think it's Dare.
Dare. Okay. So Dare is an inspector of justice. So like one of these ICE patrols like Ben is describing. And Dare has a child named Celine. And Celine was dreamt. So Dare was once married to a woman named Viv. So when Dare and Viv were together, they had baby Celine. And Celine, like I said, was formed in a dream and then was able to sort of stay and move throughout the human world and is treated obviously like a regular human child. So that to me felt very much like the movie AI. Remember AI with Haley Joel Osment?
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yep.
I can't remember her else. Jude Law, maybe?
Yep.
So that to me felt very much like that. It's like this robot child versus the biological child we had, and how we treat them differently or the same and things like that.
Also, I keep on thinking, coming back to that as a metaphor and a reflection in our world where queer couples or couples who cannot have biological children in the same way that straight people can, there are so many freaking hurdles for them.
Yeah.
Like
it's a huge bucket too. It's like infertility, queer couples.
Yeah. So I was reading about that, and essentially in vitro fertilization for like lesbian married couples, for them to do that, they need 12 attempts of
my God.
It's not in vitro. It's so there's in vitro fertilization, and then intrauterine insemination, IUI or IVF, and I think you need like 12 attempts. Most insurance policies, you need 12 attempts of IUI before you have IVF, which is a more expensive procedure. But for a lot of these policies, they define, like the insurance companies won't pay for like IVF unless you've been trying for a year
to have a baby.
Yeah, and so they define infertility in terms of like straight relationships, which the biggest hurdle in that sense is really for mostly for gay men, but also for lesbian women as well. And so sort of that whole idea I thought really interesting when you have a world, because then now you don't have to worry about that. You dream your child, right?
In the book.
In the book.
And we want to just name off the top end that it's just fucking disgusting that people... It's like almost everything reproductive outside of like man, woman, baby is just foul. It's like all abortion bans and all of these hurdles that like same-sex couples have to go through to just like even legally adopt their own child if you're not the birthing partner. It's just a fucking scam. Like there's no other way to say it. Right?
Oh yeah,
like,
and it's thousands.
I just wanted to say that off the top before you like jumped back into the book, because we were having some conversation.
Well, no, I'm gonna go back and forth, but basically these insurance policies that are discriminatory in this world, you now have imagined a world where that discrimination becomes a non-issue if you are allowed to, create a child through a dream world. And I thought that was, I think, reflective on the fact that we do live in a society where discrimination exists for families, queer families, who would like to have children, and they face more hurdles. Like, we're coming up on Pride Month in June, and there's this idea that like, I think for some people, we've, gone over these hurdles, but we really haven't. Like, just because you can see a pride flag, I think a lot of
at Target
or something, or a lot of people, this is, my dad came to visit recently, and he made a comment. He's like, yeah, I inspect a lot of houses, and I inspect a lot of houses. It seems like, a lot of the families I inspect are gay families, and they have a lot of money. And I'm like, well, Dad, the houses you generally inspect are wealthier homes to begin with. He's like, no, not always, but it just seems like, gay people are advancing more, or maybe more, or in his mind, he thought, we've reached like equality. And I think that's just not the case.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just because you see a pride flag down the street doesn't mean that there are these policies in place that are horrific. But at the same time, there are systemic changes. Yeah, there are people who are suing these insurance companies, and they're winning and getting recognition and getting press. I'll drop the 2 articles that I read, because I shouldn't be speaking on this as obviously as a professional. I'm not in a queer relationship, and I don't have this struggle, but it's something that
yeah.
Yeah, that I don't have to think about, but
it is something you don't have to think about. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
I mean, that as goes everything, right? It's like we see Obama, and we think everything's gotten better, and then the events like the Buffalo shooting will occur, and it's like, this is all connected, and this is all like, this is not an isolated event. This is because of bullshit that like Tucker Carlson is talking about like white people disappearing or something.
The Great Replacement Theory. Yep.
It's so crazy.
Also, there's sort of a form of that in the comic book as well. This idea that we're going to let too many figments in our world. We can't have figments running around unregulated. That's a bad thing. Like, figments then in many ways in this comic book become parallel to like Black folks' experience and undocumented immigrants' experience as well. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Yeah, no, I see now how you're making the allegory work more for immigration than anything else. But it's just it's like people can understand when it's a small thing, right? Like what I'm trying to say is, like, if these lawmakers made policy changes that would mostly benefit same-sex couples, they really don't see how so many people win when you do that, because more than same-sex couples will benefit from the policy. Like, it's as simple as, raise your hand if you listen to something with subtitles, right? It's like, now raise your hand if you're deaf. Like, those numbers are not going to be the same, but I watch everything in subtitles. We all benefit if you put this. It's universal design, but it needs to be for everything.
Yes,
and
creating universal health care and providing all families an equal opportunity and support if they want to have biological kids.
Right. It's like, listen, lawmakers, I promise you, if you change this, it will also help white people. It will also help straight people. Like, is that enough to convince you that you should care about it?
Like,
no.
Providing healthcare equitably would help an entire society. But I think you're also dealing with a very particular history in the U.S. where we don't have that history of caring for everybody, right? We don't. In fact, like, our whole nation state is built on the idea that not everyone is created equal. It's written in our very DNA of the foundation of our country. It's men, and it's landowning men, and it's white men, right? So that's it. It's land-owning white men, and that are the only people. And then everyone else, based on that, it's on that. Like, a term I like to use. There are a couple of terms I like to use if I'm talking about American politics or society with my students. We'll learn about, South African apartheid, and then I'll say, okay, now let's learn about American apartheid. And they're like, wait, what? Or, we learn about the Indian caste system. I'm like, all right, let's learn about the American caste system. I think that's an important, using these terms that we often think of othering, that, oh no, we're not as bad as that. We're not as bad as South African apartheid.
You're right. We're worse.
Yeah.
We are far worse. You're right.
But
what do you call, what's that thing you call, like, the snake that eats its own tail?
Oh, the Uberos?
The Uberos. I mean, that's just
like, a good image.
Like, these lawmakers are getting to that point. It's like, you intended to keep out this community. It's actually not even hurting that community, just them. It's hurting that community and your mama, bitch. Like, your mama is poor too. So you just hurt this black community over here, and you hurt your mom. Like, that's what we're getting to. And now you're hurting your own child. And now eventually you're hurting yourself. Like, this whole thing. But the book is lit.
Yeah, the book is great.
Yeah, get back to the book before we get on to all the shit that's happening.
Also,
in our
talk about
right now.
representation. There's, okay, so they have a queer couple in this book, and they're divorced, right? And I think right, like, we don't.
That's important.
Queer people get divorced as well.
Queer divorce is important.
So there's an idea, like, I'm involved in, like, queer communities, and I read a lot of, like, queer literature, but there's this idea that
like
and I sort of
every now and then.
And here's my problem. I think
here's my problem
with marriage as an institute is grounded in a patriarchal ideology. That is the
didn't
ground.
Want to get married for a long time.
Yeah, and I get I'm against it as an institution, and so there's the idea.
But when you saw me walking down that aisle,
I was like, yeah, that was a right decision, even though that could have been the down payment on a house. Anyway.
That meant I was looking expensive. How did you feel? Let's lighten the mood a little bit. How did you feel when you saw me walking down the aisle? Be honest. A little bit of joy and then, oh, fuck.
No, it was all joy. There was no, the fuckery came later, if you know what I mean.
I don't, actually. I'm just kidding. We're going to post in the Patreon. We will post a picture of Ben as I walked down the aisle. We have that on deck.
Okay. The thing that this book made
how did you feel?
I felt amazing. I thought you were gorgeous. You were beautiful. I cried. I teared up.
Okay, we all wanted to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah.
Can we have a little joy in the podcast before you get back to...
played guitar at that wedding, too.
You did.
It's great.
You didn't sing, though.
I think we had practiced with me singing a little bit. I think I might have sang, like, a word at the end, if I remember correctly. Oh, yeah. So that scene where we discover that Dare, who is basically, she's she's hired to find Ava, who's escaped a politician. What's her politician Chase, or like Eleanor Chase, and Eleanor Chase has some like deep dark secrets to hide, and so Ava is the figment of Eleanor Chase's son, Emerson Chase. And Emerson Chase is sort of like an idiot. Think like any one of the Trump children. And so he's like super
of this black woman who just protects him.
Yeah, exactly. And so Dare is sort of hired to, chase down Ava, and learns that Ava has secrets about the Chase family, and turns out they are responsible for like all the craziness that's happened in the dream world. And anyway, justice is overcome, blah, blah, blah. Great story. But coming to that part where you learn that they got a divorce, there's this idea that when queer people attempt to recreate a nuclear family, right? Get married, have a kid, that is subscribing to heteronormative norms, therefore it becomes homonormative. So there's a term in gender studies we refer to heteronormative. Be straight, mother generally has the gender role of caring for the house. Father has the gender role of taking care of money. I think that's sort of changed a little bit. Now you're like, more equally, you have kids, blah, blah, blah. And then taking that context and just making it gay, homonormative is a term that a lot of like very progressive queer theorists say this is not good for queer community, queerness.
Homonormativity.
So
mirroring heteronormative.
Yeah.
Okay,
so if you're trying to
I got you.
Well, this is this idea of, being like, it's not accepting.
Let's assimilate almost to.
It's a form of assimilation, right? And so that will inevitably lead to divorce and separation. Actually, when you put yourself, you're more likely to I don't want to say lose your queerness, because that will you'll always retain a part of that, but I think you lose elements of that queerness, perhaps.
I think that's a fear that you had about getting married.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. It's like, do you lose, or this idea of bi erasure, where if you identify as bi and you're in one kind of relationship, then that means that you are not bi. You're actually confused, or something like that. Something that you'll hear, bi erasure is like a term that some people use. So anyway, I thought that seeing like a lesbian couple and having them as divorced and sort of exploring that, I found,
and co-parenting
and co-parenting too, and also being like super respectful, I found extremely fascinating. But one thing I wanted to ask you, keep it light, have you ever like had a dream or dreamt
divorce.
up? Have you had a queer divorce? Have you ever like dreamt something? You're like, oh man, I wish that figure became real or something, or I don't know, like had a dream,
maybe
of
like
an
sex
image.
dreams.
Oh yeah, and then that image steps out, and like you saw that person in your room.
It's like yes and no. Like if you had a sex dream about somebody you weren't supposed to, like a coworker or something, you're like, oh no.
Oh, so have you ever created like a figment where that person's not real? Or have you only had dreams of people who have been real?
I've only mostly had dreams of people that have been real, if I'm being honest. Because if the other parts weren't human or something. If that makes any sense.
Like a talking dolphin or something.
Yeah.
Well, in this world, your figments can sort of look like anything. They can look alien, think of Star Wars Cantina. They could look like anything if you dream them. Sometimes they look human, sometimes they don't.
Why do you think I know what Star Wars Cantina is?
The Cantina in Maz Eisley?
Mm-mm.
So it's like the first scene in Star Wars, they walk in and they have like the clarinet playing and you see all the different aliens. That scene like
clarinet.
Yeah, it's like, well,
there's somebody playing clarinet in Star Wars, like first chair.
No, it's like a jazz club.
Oh, like where Lando loses his.
Well, not Land. No.
Where they're playing cards and stuff.
Yeah.
Like that card. I'm right.
Oh, you're talking about in Solo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's the
Lando
cantina?
is that's sort of the cantina vibe. So all these different aliens coming together, and they look, strange with, feathers and noses.
That's the
different
cantina.
places. Yeah.
Like Moe's cantina.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah, like
got
getting drinks and hanging
Got
out.
it.
But that's sort of the creatures.
Yes. I've
like
had
you-
dreams with creatures and a lot of me-centered dreams. It'll be like, me running through the grocery store and knocking everything in my cart. Like, there's no one in that dream that I'm like, come with me.
Okay. No, like creatures. Have you ever weird creature feature dreams? Like, I think I've had a dream with.
Well, I ain't
or
been
a
sleeping
figment,
lately.
Like a massive. Yeah, that's also true.
I definitely, not to get all like, I don't know, spiritual at war or whatever, but I dreamt of interactions with Wild before she was born, before I could see her.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Because I could feel her.
Okay, that actually gets to one of my questions, because Eleanor Chase, who is the politician, like the shady politician who has secrets to hide in the story, to sort of help her run her politics, she dreams up all these different figments, and she actually dreams up a figment of her son Emerson.
Right.
Who she's like, I hate my actual son Emerson. My dream
Here's a
of him is
version of him.
better.
Right.
And I found that such a reflective of how so many parents
Parent,
right? They're like,
Correct.
I'm going to dream, I have a dream of you, which is better in their head than who you will actually become.
I think every parent does that. Even if
even
you say you don't.
even romantic relationships. And so how do you avoid
Right.
doing
You
that?
definitely, and we all definitely dream of like, oh, I thought Ben was going to be this. Turns out this is who I'm stuck with. Which is way better than who I dreamed.
Right. We can post it on that and discuss that in therapy. You keep bringing that up recently.
I just
don't
said
know, a little insecure.
the actual you is way better than the dream.
I mean,
you.
that sounded obligatory based on your tone.
It wasn't. I'm trying to be
Now
nice.
you're defensive. If you were for real about it, you wouldn't have gotten defensive. You've been like, okay.
I'm not defensive. I love you.
Your voice went up a pitch. I'm just playing. I'm fucking with you.
I know you are. I've dreamt. You know what else I've done in the past? And I'll ask you about yours. So let's say something really exciting is happening the next day, right? Like as a kid, I always, like if I knew we were going to Six Flags the next day, I could barely sleep because I was dreaming about like how awesome that next day was going to be.
I think that could also be part of your like unmedicated
anxiety
as well.
But it was good. It was good anxiety. It was like, oh my God, I'm going to eat a funnel cake and a turkey leg and I'm going to get on the mind bender. I'm going to get on the Georgia Scorcher.
Which is still a form of anxiety because it's interrupting your anxiety is off. Anyway, go for it.
Not you telling the queen of anxiety what anxiety is. Sorry, have you ever dreamt of someone in your dream that you wish was in real life? Or
I think I've dreamed creatures. Like when I was really into Harry Potter, I dreamed some different fusion of characters. Like maybe like a massive spider with a giraffe head or something. But
I don't remember giraffes.
So
being in
anyway,
Harry Potter.
so you would dream before you had this exciting event.
Oh yeah, or like if I knew some sort of award ceremony was at the school the next day, I'd dream of me getting the award.
Oh yeah,
and then I wouldn't. I told you about that one time at cheer camp where I thought I won the award, they called out the name Amber really slowly, and I think like the person announcing had to cough or something, so she was like, so there was a school in the district or in the state.
Say more. I know what happened. You probably were so embarrassed.
Oh, are you kidding?
You were
so
like,
let me explain the whole story.
Amber gets embarrassed.
Oh, are you
very
kidding?
easily.
Very.
It's so funny because
I'm like a freaking clown.
You give a presentation like that. You don't give a fuck, but
I think everybody does. I give very tons of fucks. So what happened was this. There was this. I'm gonna just look at the camera now. There was this award at cheer camp that coaches gave to one cheerleader on the squad, who they not thought of as their favorite, but just was like, this person's been working hard all year. Like they really deserve this, like kind of a teacher's pet award. And this was like a state cheer camp.
Yeah, which describes you.
Which actually didn't describe me at that moment. I was more about my friends and less about the cheer captain or coach or whatever. This is quick. So then they would call like Ben from whatever city, whatever. So they essentially, the lady was like, Amber. And so I stood up, started walking to get the award. And she was like, from Druid Hills, which was not my school, it was Clark Central. So I literally had to like actively turn back around and sit down. And at that point, I caught the eye contact of my cheer coach, the one who would have been the one who nominated me. And she was like, she gave me this look like, bitch, you wish you give me more grief than anybody on this damn squad. Like I would actually nominate your black ass. Sit down. She was black too, but she said all of that with her eyes. She was like, what the fuck you doing? Sit down.
That's fantastic.
I have to.
I think
Hold on.
on that note.
Hold on. Real quick. Wow.
All right. Well, on that embarrassing note, let's go ahead and wrap up this show.
Wait, first off, that's my line. Second off, what embarrassing note are you referring to?
That you had to pause the show to run and take a poop.
I don't know what's wrong with me.
Okay, you had a baby.
It's the breastfeeding.
And there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with. Well, there's something wrong with all of us. There's something wrong with. Well, there's no. I mean, we all die, right? So is that wrong? Is it wrong to die, deteriorate? No, that's part of life. We're all going to die. It's 100%. And so sometimes we have to poop.
I'm just so in awe of my body these days. Like
Yeah,
legit,
me
where is the milk that is forming in my breast? Like where does it come from?
There are whole articles and videos you can watch to learn about that.
Like my
if
body
that's
is
the question you're
refilling
having,
like a water cooler. Like how? Like every time it happens, I'm like, how is this happening?
mm-hmm. I'm sure doctors know.
Like, where does the milk come from? Okay, sorry. You're right, Ben. There is no breast milk in this incredible comic book that y'all should all read. If you're a queer person going through a divorce, good for you. Get that divorce. Whatever sets you free. I always congratulate people when they are getting a divorce because it's very hard to get a fucking divorce. Like,
it actually,
it's frowned upon by society and stuff. And obviously, we want our marriages to work. But when it's bad, get the fuck out.
So I went home a little while ago and I ran into someone. I was like, oh,
what do you mean you went home? You're home now?
in New York. Like, I went home to New York and I ran into someone who I grew up in this like evangelical church. I ran into their parent. And I was like, how is,
ex-child. Yeah.
This person and their husband. And they're like, oh, they got a divorce and it's so sad. She wanted a divorce because she went to go get her PhD and we're just so disappointed in her. And I was like, oh, good for her because for you to go and I think part of the reason
how could someone fix their lips to say like we're so disappointed that our child got her PhD? I'm sure it was a her.
It's because of the kind of evangelical Christian community I grew up in. All he could talk about how grieved they were because they had loved their son-in-law so much.
Then you marry his ass.
Yeah.
I just it's so hard to break up sometimes and see the light. So when people do,
especially it seemed
one of my
they
friends
did
to
it
break up so bad.
It seemed as if they did it to
exactly
get a
what I'm
PhD. It seemed as if they did it to get a PhD, and I thought that was something to celebrate.
Oh my God! Here,
straighten your marriage for a
up.
PhD. Does this mean I can get my PhD now?
Wait. What did I disagree to? Ben, you could always get your PhD. It just I would support you getting your PhD.
Well, on that note,
it's just who's just gonna watch the baby while I'm going off being a star. Baby,
Miss Judy Wallen, my mom, she's in the other room watching the baby right now.
I know we should give her a break. Ben, you have my blessing to go get your PhD, and when you do, you better have straight motherfucking A's and queer A's. With that being said, Ben, why don't you warp up the show?
All right. In conclusion, Queen of Bad Dreams is a great, beautiful read of imagination, of dreaming, of
divorces.
figments of your imagination of divorces. Go ahead and read it.
Happy divorce, y'all. Thanks, Ben. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Sci-Fi Side Podcast, home of the divorce. Just kidding. Up next, we will be reading Electric Arches, the poetry collection by Eve L. Ewing. It's a short read, but we're going to discuss that and so much more, of course. So we will see y'all next week on the show. Bye, y'all.